Heyo everyone, welcome back to the Chunky Kings channel, welcome back Gooners and Goonettes, and today we're diving into a story that surprised the hell out of me. I'm back with another AVN review, and this time we are jumping in to A Leap of Faith, no pun intended. A visual novel that doesn't rely on fantasy or absurd tropes, but it hits you with something even harder, real emotion, gamers. This is my full review of Leap of Faith, an adult visual novel that blends humor, heartbreak, and healing in one unforgettable ride. Whether you're into romance, branching choices that actually matter, or want a game that will honestly make you just feel something, stick around because this one is special. So what exactly was Leap of Faith? It was a choice-driven visual novel, of course, in a modern world where you play as a guy dealing with grief, stagnation of his life, and just the complicated maze of basically starting life over, and like he just really needs a fresh new set of life. The story opens up with a familiar feeling of you're just stuck, you're alone, except for your friend Chris, of course. Chris, you're the goat. You're not sure what comes next though, but as the days unfold, you reconnect with some new people, some old friends, and realize that healing begins while taking a leap of faith. Now let's get something out of the way. Yes, Leap of Faith is still technically an AVN. There is adult content within the game, but this just isn't about the spicy scenes, honestly. In fact, more of those moments kind of feel like a supporting cast rather than part of the main story, which you don't usually see in AVNs. All the adult themes feel not so much a reward, but more for a support for a genuine emotional connection, and not just like filler fan service shit that we're used to seeing in AVNs. Now let's start in the visuals, UI, and music, stuff like that. Visually, Leap of Faith is pretty good and pretty well rounded. The characters are pretty expressive, the backgrounds feel alive, there's real cinematic care in how the scenes feel or like how they're framed. I actually spent a little extra money on the walkthrough portion of it, and I saw something in an AVN that I usually don't see. You get like little editor's notes from, I believe his name is Driftly. Sorry if I forget which one it was, but he has these little editor notes on some of the choices you can make, and he shows you how he had to render some of the scenes within the game and how much stuff he had to keep in or cut. And that's a neat little thing that I've never seen in AVN, where you get the background scenes of a dev making the game and how much work actually goes into the game. So thank you for putting that in the game. It was actually really enjoyable to see everything that went in. For the UI, of course, just click and point and choose adventure, but there's a phone setting, of course, like many AVNs in the scene. But I think the phone interface of this one was more intricate. You're constantly texting people, constantly sharing photos on your Nuke account. You're watching little short in-game videos. The phone isn't just really a gimmick. Usually in other AVNs, you just text people here and there, but this one, you have like a whole storytelling tool within your hand, and sometimes there's choices you need to make within the game that isn't explicitly said or told to you, and you just have to keep checking your phone basically to see if the phone can help you progress in the story or make the right choice. And it helps you get closer to other characters as well to make it feel more natural. Another thing I mentioned is the music. The music in the game, chef's kiss. It sets the tone perfectly with the upbeat parties. There's a little more upbeat music, melancholy music during like quieter reflective times. There's just a warm, almost lo-fi vibe type that makes you just sit there and listen for a while. And then there's a bunch of these like pop Lexi songs, of course, as there's one of the characters where there's a bunch of pop upbeat music in the background for whenever a scene, more of the happy up type moments. So the music super fits in well where it's always put in. Now let's get some of the meat potatoes off the table now. We're going to the characters. The heart of a game could be make or break with some of the characters. Now this is where Leap of Faith does absolutely shine. The characters, most of them, almost every single one, feels like someone you know or someone you wish you did. There's Robin, there's Cece, Steph, Kira, Lexi, Chris. All of them have their own little development path. Chris as your best friend, he's the comic relief character, your one guy friend that you get in every AVN basically. And then all the women, Robin, Cece, Steph, Lexi, Holly, Kira, I think I got them all with that, but all of them have like a different backstory or a different way in their upbringing that want to interact. Like Robin and Kira are more of the flirty, flirtatious type. Cece, honestly one of the best characters in the game, if not the best character in the game, one of the most emotional arcs in the game. She's like artistic, going through some real dark shit though. And then there's Lexi, who a pop star who like needs to break out of her shell. There's Steph, your old fling basically. And all of them bring a different personality to the table. Like, just for example, like Steph, almost like a mature, calming presence. Like I said, Cece, like an artistic, vulnerable type of vibe. Robin and Kira, just a real wild, flirtatious type of vibe. You got Linda, a little friendly type of vibe, more playful. And all the characters, all in their unique way, bring the story together, and you can pursue different characters throughout the whole game, and each of them feels special in their own little way. So every character always wraps up in a neat little gift, and you can play the story. You basically have to choose which one you want to set a path out toward, which one you want to be with. And usually in AVNs, you have a harem style type where you get to be with every girl, but that isn't really the case within this game, which is different from most AVNs. You have to pick basically essentially which girl you want to go to, while the beginning of the game does, like, you can kind of make your way with all of them. Eventually it feels like you do have to pick, and you have to pick a main girl, which is, it's different, but I also like that as well, as you can build a more emotional in bond depth basically with one of the characters that you have chosen, and you can go through multiple playthroughs of the game to see like what content you missed, and like who you really wanted to see be happy with in the end. That's just great writing of the characters. And like by the end of my first playthrough, I wasn't even thinking about the adult content within the game. I was thinking about how these, like, I didn't want to just see them basically naked. I wanted to see like what story I could live with each and every one of them. Now, coming to the replay value, like I said, and like basically the choices within the game, one of Leap of Faith's biggest strength is its branching narrative. As I said, you basically have to choose one girl, and your choices matter. And I don't mean like two different, like slightly different lines of dialogue kind of way. I mean like whole routes, open or closed, depending on how you act. The text you send, the things you say, and like even when you're silent, like they change everything, it felt like, within the game. And there are a lot of consequences within the game, and some of them are kind of brutal. You might make a phone call too early, or like not realize the emotional impact until hours later within the story, and you're quick saving and quick loading. And that level of storytelling, honestly, it takes real craftsmanship. And I've done, I think it was 3 full playthroughs now of the game. It took me a while to actually play through the game, because every time I finished the story, I knew there were so many other routes within the game that I still wanted to try, and I still have not seen everything. I have not taken every route, and so I'm gonna play the game again and again and again until I get all those different routes. But each different route reveals like a new angle of each character, and like some are heartbreaking, yeah, and some are uplifting. So the replay value of this AVN alone is kind of sky high, where you have to play it multiple times to get every scene. So just a recap then of all my pros and cons and final thoughts. The pros, honestly, great, incredible emotional storytelling. If you're looking for an emotional story, this is a game for you. And it's realistic and some deep concepts with meaningful relationships. So if you need some replayability and you want to play the game multiple times, there's multiple options and branching paths. And like I said before, this game touches on mental health, grief, and like healing with care. It's a great, deep, emotional story. And as for the cons, I guess early on the pacing can feel a little slow at times to really pick up the story, as some AVNs do, but like obviously once you get into the meat and potatoes of it, everything is flying and zooming. Some of the routes, as I said, it's kind of hard to pick some of the choices. You don't know what routes end abruptly if you make the wrong decisions until like way later in the game. And I thought like, that kind of sucks, but I understand, like, so you make your decisions well. It is, I guess you could say, a con as well that it is so emotional heavy. It's not for casual playthroughs, I would say, honestly though, but some of these are more nitpicks, and like some of the adult scenes, I know I haven't really touched on the adult scenes, even though this is a AVN technically. They're fine, honestly. Like, as I said before, they're more of a support role within this game and not fan service filler, basically. Like, oh, I want to sleep with all the women in this game. No, like, every adult scene in this game is basically progressing either like a branching network of what you're building with that girl, or it is supporting the story in different ways. So that being said, some of the scenes are like a little lackluster here and there. Like, they're not great, but as I said, they are for this story. But if you take that as a con or a pro, as you will. If you're looking for like a story, it's fucking fantastic. If you're looking for an AVN with some nudity and some sexual scenes, probably a con within the game. Honestly though, those are just some nitpicks. As I said, this story offers great emotional narratively. Leap of Faith is a very compelling AVN. So if you're looking for a visual novel that respects your time, storytelling over shock value and fan service fill, this is for you. Leap of Faith isn't just the game. One of those memory games that you look back on those stories and you want to keep playing over and over again. If you're anything like me, you'll be thinking about these characters long after those credits roll. So that's all for the day. Who was your favorite character? Did you end up a CC? Maybe Steph stole your heart? Or are you still replaying it, trying to decide who's your favorite girl? Drop the thoughts in the comments. Keep this spoiler free for newcomers. If you want more deep dives reviews like this, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss one. Until next time, Gooners and Goonettes, sometimes the biggest step forward begins with a leap of faith. Alright, I'll see you guys later.